Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Helpful Dollar. This has been a long time coming, and I want to thank all the family and friends that have supported me throughout this process. Now enough of the mushy stuff. Let's get into the real question. Why is finance a popular topic for young adults? Well, we got to ask ourselves this as a generation. How are we doing financially? The answer is not good. The National Endowment for Financial Education did a study and identified that only 24% of millennials demonstrate basic financial literacy. And for those of you that don't math, it's not a good number. The Global Finance Literacy Excellence Center, man, that's a mouthful, discovered that almost half of student loan holders express concern about their ability to pay off student debt. Because school expensive. PurePoint Financial found that 56% of millennials don't have any money saved in their retirement account. Probably because nobody taught them. And it cost a whopping $25,000 on average to sit down one-on-one with a financial advisor and build a plan. Don't have $25K? Well, usually that means you're SOL. That's why you got me. To cover this question, let's address 4 things. Number 1, how has consumerism affected us? Number 2, what role does debt play? Number 3, how do I protect my monies? And number 4, what happened to retirement? So without further ado, let's dive in. To start, let's address the first question. How has consumerism affected us? Well, we're the buy it now generation, which is exactly as it sounds. It means spend now and think about the consequences later. Or just don't ever look at your bank account, because that would be scary. When buying things with cash or buying things with a card, it feels 2 different ways. If I were to hand somebody $100 or hand them my debit card, it would be harder for me to hand them cash because money is emotional. And when we remove physical cash from that process, we become desensitized to spending money. It means it's stupid easy. Online shopping reinforces that with accessibility. That's when you're on Netflix and while you get to the boring part of a movie, purchase something on Amazon. Or probably you're doing something on Disney Plus because they took all the Marvel movies. Thank you, Netflix. Validation reinforces this idea with review sites, which could be a physical exclusive review site, or reviews on places like Amazon. Because if they slap 5 stars on it, sure, buy that $400 thing. I'm sure it's easy. FOMO really reinforces this in social media and advertising. What's FOMO? Well, you probably already know this, but it's a fear of missing out because you don't want to miss that sale or be the loser without the new AirPod Pros. I'm just kidding. You're not a loser. They're expensive, and that's why I don't have them. FOMO can lead to bad decisions and impulse buying, which could be detrimental to the budget you do or don't have yet, and can be harder to make good financial decisions with that. Again, because money's emotional. Now let's move on to the second thing. What role does debt play? Well, it's an expected part of life, and debt is so accessible. Your credit score is uber important and affects a bunch of different things. Well, what is your credit score? Your credit score is a way that creditors, or people that hand you money and lend you money, say, yeah, I would trust that person with money, or there's no way in hell I'd hand that person some money. What plays a factor in your credit score? To start, credit cards, and on top of that, student loans. Credit cards, where are they? Well, they're at Amazon. And on top of Amazon, they're at random ads that you see online. And when they're not there, well, they're in your mailbox because everybody wants you to have one. Credit cards actually have a huge impact on your credit score and can be used to your advantage. The second thing would be student loans. Now, you already know what student loans are, so I'm not going to explain those. But if you're wondering how long they last, they do not last forever. They last 5-ever. Because when you have a student loan, in the initial parts of that loan, you are only paying the interest off, meaning the principal, the actual amount that you borrowed, is still just kind of sitting there hanging out. Does your credit score follow you? Yeah, it's right behind you. Just kidding. No, it's not. But if you want to rent somewhere, if you want to get a loan on a car, if you want to buy a home, heck, there are even times that employers have looked at credit scores, and it is a huge part of your life. So instead of avoiding it, there are ways that we can address it so it is easier to digest and you can have a solid credit score. Number 3, how do I protect my monies? Well, don't keep it all in the bank. Why not? our cost of living has actually gone up over time. How does that mean anything, Antonio? Well, your parents might have spent 25% of their check on a home, whereas for us now, 50% of our monthly check might be spent on a home. It's because things have gotten really expensive and we haven't made as much money to make up for that increase in expensive. It means we have to be a lot more creative. Not to mention that major expenses can really ruin us as a generation. It's always hard to hear when family or friends are struggling with money and one bad thing puts them over, puts them in bankruptcy, whatever it might be. But be assured that there are ways that we can prepare for these types of surprises, because nobody wants to be surprised with that expensive breaking their ankle for, I don't know, playing basketball or something. We can also leverage different tools, things like insurance, savings, and other things to ensure that we're not totally cucked. So what happened to retirement? What a great question. It actually comes back to two things. Number one, it comes to Social Security and pensions. What was Social Security? Well, bet you didn't expect you'd be getting a history lesson, yet here we are. Social Security was this interesting little program. It started back in the early 1930s during the Great Depression when everybody was broke as a joke. And the government said, hey, I don't like that everybody's broke, so let's take, these are pockets by the way, hope you love my pockets, take a little money out of everybody's pockets, put it into this lump sum of money, and have a guy with a big old calculator give people money when they want to retire, so they're not working until the day they die, which is a real thing that happened. So what happened to Social Security? Is it still around? You bet it is. Look at your checks. They're definitely taking Social Security out. But there's this problem. People were living to 45, and then they started living to like 55, like 65. And the guy with the calculator did not account for such a thing. Thank you, medical field, for giving us longer lasting lives. But now, Social Security's in jeopardy. There's a chance that you'd be contributing to this beautiful thing and may never be able to take advantage of it, which is super sad. And what are pensions? Well, pensions were beautiful. It's like that one good childhood friend you have, and then one day they just up and move to Florida. You know who you are. Yeah, pensions were sweet. And what happened? Or what were they, more importantly? It was a check, a little money that you got every month until the day you were 6 feet under, until you expired, until you were dead. And in the same regard that I just talked about for Social Security, they died. What do you mean, they died? Not all the people. Those people are still around. But pensions took the L and just went away because companies and the government couldn't keep up with this longer lasting life thing. And I'm sure the guy that was doing the math on these pensions is probably somewhere in Cabo, taking all the money and sipping on mojitos. But Kesey was scared that he messed up the math. So that's what happened to retirement. To tie it all together, know this. Some things work for you and some things work against you. Things like what? Things like compound interest. An interesting little concept where we get an initial amount, times it by a percentage, it goes into this amount, times it by a percentage, this new amount turns into this bigger amount, and then we kind of get this stairway to heaven sort of deal. We'll talk more about this later. And the finance space has changed over time and will continue to change. So don't blame yourself. Blame your parents, grandparents, and the government. And then once you're done having your pity party, come on over here and know that you're empowered through education because you is important, you is special, and I believe in you. There's also a strategy that we're going to use to kind of get you out of this financial runt, so to speak. And it's going to be through managing your dollars in debt. And on top of that, more importantly, building yourself an offense and a defense. Now, after all this is said and done, I challenge you to a duel. Nope, not a duel. I challenge you to do one thing 3 times. Find a book, blog, website, YouTube channel, finance guru, or anything of that matter, and start learning. Look in the description below. I'll drop a link to 15 top personal finance books from Business Insider that I think are a great place to start. So leave a like if you got one thing of value. Comment on any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you're a passing by internet troll, Hi, passing by internet troll. And finally, subscribe for more financial awesomeness every week. Oh yeah, and remember, everyone needs helpful dollars.